First Muslim battle, known as the Battle of Badr, is one of the most significant events in Islamic history. It took place on the 17th Ramadan, 2nd AH, 13th March, 624 CE. This battle was a pivotal moment for the early Muslim community in Medina, marking the first armed conflict between the Muslims and the Quraysh of Makkah. Background of the battle. After the migration Hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad PBUH and his followers from Mecca to Medina, the relationship between the Muslims and the Quraysh became tense. The Quraysh, who controlled Mecca, were furious that Islam had begun to gain strength in Medina. They were determined to destroy the Muslim community before it became too powerful. The Muslims, on the other hand, were facing severe economic hardship. The Quraysh had confiscated the properties and wealth left behind by the Muslims when they emigrated to Medina. One way to alleviate their difficulties was to target Quraysh caravans, which traveled between Mecca and Syria, laden with valuable goods. This strategy was also a way for the Muslims to weaken the Quraysh economically and to compensate for their lost wealth. In March 624 CE, the Muslims received news that a large Quraysh caravan led by Abu Sufyan was returning from Syria to Mecca. This caravan was carrying a huge amount of wealth, and the Muslims saw it as an opportunity to strike a blow against the Quraysh. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, gathered a small force of about 313 Muslims, comprising both Muhajirun, those who migrated from Mecca, and Ansar, the Muslims from Medina, to intercept the caravan. The Quraysh's reaction. Abu Sufyan, the leader of the Quraysh caravan, got word of the Muslim plan and quickly sent a messenger to Mecca to raise an army. The Quraysh responded immediately, assembling a force of about 1,000 men, which included many of their best warriors and leaders. The Quraysh army was well-equipped and determined to protect their caravan and punish the Muslims. Abu Sufyan managed to evade the Muslim force by changing his caravan's route, but the Quraysh army was already on its way to confront the Muslims. They were determined to teach the Muslims a lesson, not realizing that this confrontation would turn into a decisive battle. The location, Badr. The two forces eventually met near a place called Badr, which was a strategic location. Badr was a valley located southwest of Medina, near the coast of the Red Sea. It had wells, which made it an important location in the desert, as water was a crucial resource in any battle. The Muslims, although outnumbered, were deeply committed and had strong faith in Allah's support. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, prayed earnestly to Allah for victory, knowing that if the small Muslim force was defeated, the entire Muslim community could be wiped out. The night before the battle. The Prophet Muhammad led his companions in prayer and asked for Allah's help. Despite the odds, he assured the Muslims that victory was near. That night, a light rain fell, which provided the Muslims with much-needed water and softened the sand beneath their feet, making it easier for them to move. Meanwhile, the Quraysh soldiers found the sand beneath their feet difficult to walk on, as it had become muddy due to the rain. The battle begins. On the morning of 17th Ramadan, the two armies faced each other. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, positioned the Muslim forces in a defensive formation near the wells of Badr, ensuring they had access to water while the Quraysh had to fight on drier ground. As was the custom in Arabian warfare, the battle began with single combats. 3 warriors from the Quraysh side, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, his son al-Walid, and his brother Shayba, stepped forward and challenged the Muslims to duels. The Prophet sent 3 of his closest companions, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, and Ubaidah ibn al-Harith, to face them. In a swift and intense duel, Ali and Hamza killed their opponents, while Ubaidah was gravely wounded but managed to defeat his adversary. This initial success boosted the morale of the Muslims and sent a wave of fear through the Quraysh ranks. Full-scale battle. After the duels, the two armies clashed in full force. The Quraysh, despite their numerical superiority, were disorganized and fought with overconfidence. The Muslims, on the other hand, fought with a sense of purpose and faith that Allah was with them. According to Islamic tradition, Allah sent down angels to aid the Muslims in the battle. The Quran references this event in Surah Al-Imran 3, 123-125, and Surah Al-Anfal 8, 9-12, where Allah reassures the Muslims of divine assistance. The Quraysh were overwhelmed by the determination and tactics of the Muslim fighters. The Muslims, under the Prophet's command, showed great discipline and courage. Despite being heavily outnumbered, they managed to hold their ground and gradually began to push the Quraysh back. The Quraysh's defeat. The tide of the battle soon turned in favor of the Muslims. Many key leaders of the Quraysh, including Abu Jahl, who was one of the staunchest enemies of Islam, were killed in the fighting. With the loss of their leaders and the relentless assault of the Muslims, the Quraysh army began to lose heart and eventually fled the battlefield. The Muslims achieved a stunning victory. About 70 Quraysh fighters were killed and 70 more were captured, while the Muslim forces lost only 14 men. The Quraysh's defeat at Badr shocked all of Arabia. It was a humiliating blow to the powerful Quraysh tribe and a major victory for the Muslims. Aftermath and significance. The Battle of Badr was more than just a military victory. It was a turning point for the Muslim community. The victory boosted the morale and confidence of the Muslims and confirmed their belief that Allah was with them. It also solidified the Prophet Muhammad's PBUH leadership and established the Muslim community as a force to be reckoned with in Arabia. For the Quraysh, the defeat at Badr was a bitter humiliation. Many of their top leaders had been killed, and they were left to regroup and plan their next move. The Battle of Badr set the stage for further confrontations between the Muslims and the Quraysh, leading to a series of battles in the years to come. For the Muslims, Badr was a reminder that victory comes from faith, unity, and reliance on Allah. It remains a symbol of triumph against overwhelming odds and a key moment in the early history of Islam.